getting ready to downsize and move. Today on Keeping You Organized. Today on Keeping You Organized, we are going to talk all about downsizing and moving, and we've got an expert on that subject with us. It's Dina Newman from organizingconceptsanddesigns.com. It's kind of a mouthful. And Dina, coming to us from California, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Well, good. Let's get right into it because this is the time of year a lot of people move. And, you know, it's not just moving day that we have to worry about. It's how far in advance do we have to do to get ready for this? And how do we kind of prepare for it mentally? Because a lot of people don't want to get rid of stuff, do they, when they move?
No, it's a hard thing to do. Moving, as we know, is a stressful time to begin with. So downsizing just adds another stressful element. And for me, I tell my clients, the more time they can give me, the better. And it just takes some of the stress off. And I believe that it also helps them get prepared better. It gives them more time.
So do you have a rule of thumb? Like, I mean, what's the average amount of time you like to have in order to work with somebody?
I like 6 weeks, you know. I mean, a moving company can come in and pack them all up in 3 days and get them on their way. For me, my clients seem to have a lot of sentimental attachment to their belongings. They've had things usually many, many years that have, you know, strong family heirlooms that they want to hold on to or that they want to pass down to the generations. And it takes time. I like to also include in that time frame the possibility that things can go wrong, that somebody can get sick and need a week. Somebody might have to travel out of town, and that takes time. So I try to take into consideration things that might go wrong, and that's why I like the 6 weeks.
Okay. Well, what's the very first thing you do? First session, first time you meet with somebody, what are the first words out of your mouth?
Let's go through the house and see what you really absolutely don't need and don't want. Okay. So the first thing we really do is get rid of the clutter that there's no strong attachment to.
Okay. And in a typical house, what's the percentage of that? I mean, are you talking 25%, 10%, I mean, average?
I would say about, and this is an average, I would say about 20% is just straight trash.
Okay.
They don't need to even consider it or pay too much attention to it.
And do you walk through and just kind of make a list, or are you kind of tossing as you walk?
First time we're talking, and after about an hour of going through the house and them showing me their entire home, we then start throwing out. We then start the process with a trash bag or 2 or 3 and just start tossing things, magazines, old articles, clothing that they don't fit into anymore, just straight trash.
Okay. Now, I got a story. When I worked with my mom and dad when they were moving, I was working with my dad down in his workshop, and there was no way he was going to be able to take everything. And I'd say, what about this? He'd go, well, let's just put it over here. I don't know about this. And I said, what about this? He'd go, well, why don't we just set it over there? It's like we were not getting through. He couldn't make a decision on anything. How do you get people to overcome that, I need to get rid of this?
Well, there's several different ways. Some people just need to tell you the story behind the attachment, and then they're kind of ready to let go. Okay. Some people do put it aside, and then when they see how much stuff they're taking and they understand that the restrictions of the places that they're moving to, they might be more inclined to get rid of things. So some things do have to be put aside. Okay. That said, after the story is told, I'll suggest maybe we could take a picture. And they can hold on to the picture, and we could, put it in an album, or if they're computer savvy, we can load it onto a disc for them. Those are 2 of the ways I try to get around them holding on to certain items.
Now, what's the craziest item that you've worked with a client that they just didn't want to give up? I mean, sometimes there's like a empty beer bottle that has some logo on it that means everything to them, but what comes to your mind when I ask that?
Well, it depends on your definition of crazy, but I have one client who has magazines, that about 7 to 10 boxes of magazines that are work related that are now all available on the internet, but he feels that he has to read every article before he can let them go. So that to me is a little crazy, but not to him. And then you have the very, very severely, the attachment to people that have died, that have left things behind, and they feel guilty about letting those items go because they feel guilty about that connection, I guess, to that item.
Right.
There's very sad stories. There's a lot of very sad stories.
So do you find sometimes that you're just kind of a counselor and you're listening and processing with them? And do you find that after they've had an opportunity to talk it out, then they maybe just say, you know what, I can let this go?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes.
Okay, so you've kind of done that first meeting. You've maybe thrown some stuff away. What kind of comes next in the process as you get closer to the move?
I feel like after the first session, the people that I work with typically get comfortable and they understand the process. They understand that it's about getting rid of things, it's about donating things, and it's about really going through the process. And then we start packing those things that they definitely want. So those things also start to get out of the way. Okay. And that's the next process. The process usually is we throw away, we donate, and we start packing.
Okay.
And then when the boxes start getting full and they start building up, they see, oh my gosh, there's way too much stuff here that's not going to fit into my new home.
Do you do anything like, do you try to assign like, all right, well, we've got this thing right here. Where's that going to go in the new place? Well,
that's typically brought up at the first, the first consultation, because I really want to know where they're going. So usually there's some kind of floor plan that they provide to me, or at least they give me the footage of the new place, so I can basically get a feel of how much stuff is really going to fit there. And depending on the place that they're going to is depending on what they can take. So I basically give them a reality check. Okay. You've given me a square footage. This piece is not going to fit there. How would you like to deal with that? Would you like to try and sell it? Would you like to donate it? Is there a family member that might like it? So there are options, right, but not very many.
And they say the average person moves at like every 7 years or something like that. So there's a lot of people constantly moving. Have you ever helped somebody move some stuff and the stuff just ends up sitting in a box in the new place, and they never actually unpack it?
Unfortunately, that is a very real scenario. Yes, there are people that I have downsized and we've been successful, but there's a lot of stuff that still remains in their garage. Mm-hmm. And they say that, one day they'll get to it. And then usually within 6 months to a year, they call me back and they say, you're right, we need to downsize a little bit more. We'd like to park in the garage and there's just too much stuff. So sometimes it's just that. They have to realize when they get to their new place that there's no place for all of their belongings. Right. So
okay, so you've got everybody boxed up, right? Things, and you've kind of decided, all right, this is kind of where we're going. What's the next step?
Everything is boxed up. We're now going to the new home. And I guess the next step would be taking a trip with them to the new home. Okay. To really see, like now we have a list of, let's just say 100 boxes, and 50 of them are usually going to go into the kitchen and dining room, right, about a half. And so we go through it and we say, where do you think all of these things are going to fit? And now we really have to decide, because ultimately when you pack, you're packing by room. Okay. And hopefully my intent is when I pack that if they can't use some of those items, that whole box can go, rather than unpacking it and then repacking it. So I try to pack those things that I know in my heart won't fit into their new place. And so it's easier to get rid of. And usually that's a better reality check for them.
Great. All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick little break here. When we get back, okay, I want to talk a little bit about your background too, because I know you had an interesting job before you became a professional organizer, and I also want to get into the final steps of getting ready to move into that new home. So we're talking with Dina Newman from Organizing Concepts and Designs.com about moving and downsizing, and we'll continue that discussion in just a moment.
Looking for a file folder that can go the distance? Try new Flexi Folder from Smead, the heavyweight folder with movable and erasable tabs. You'll find yourself using them again and again and again. The Smead Flexi Folder is made of durable 14-point stock that stands up to wear and tear. The folder also features an extra wide 1/3 cut movable and erasable tab. This tab allows you to write, move, and erase it with ease, so as your filing needs change, your folders don't have to. These tabs are simple to install by simply punching the tab out of the sheet, using a permanent marker to label your tab, and positioning wherever it's needed. Once a project is over, erase the tab with a standard white eraser, and you'll have a brand new folder. When it's time to rearrange that folder in the drawer, simply move the tab to a new position. Available in standard manila or bright primary colors, these heavy-duty folders will make a lasting impression on your file drawer.
We are back now on Keeping You Organized with Dina Newman from organizingconceptsanddesigns.com. And Dina, before we went to the break, I teased him a little bit, telling him that before you were a professional organizer, you had a different kind of a job. Let's talk about that and how you got into the organizing business.
My previous job was I managed a law firm in California for 25 plus years. I won't go beyond that.
Okay.
And so my background was legal and managing. And so I felt that it was a great transition for me to go into organizing because there was nothing that I couldn't do to make an office more efficient, more productive. And I do the same thing in homes, so it was just a perfect transition for me.
Now, going back to your law experience, we know from at Smead here that lawyers use a lot of paper and a lot of files. Did you have a good system for keeping those things organized?
I believe I did, yes. We had great filing systems. We used, we had, I set up different systems depending on which law firm I was with. But yes, every law firm had a different kind of system, and I usually was the one that implemented those systems.
Yeah, because just the amount of paper that gets generated at a law firm is just, it's pretty incredible. It's
voluminous, yes.
Okay, so was there a point in time you said, I just need to get out of the law business, and you wanted to say, I like this organizing business? I mean, is that how you found NAPO, or what was kind of that first step to get your new organizing business going?
The reason I transitioned out of the legal business was because I felt that I had reached the highest level without becoming an attorney.
Okay.
And I felt that I was ready for a different kind of challenge in my life. The reason I became an organizer was because, again, I just felt that I had the skills already and that it was just a natural transition for me. I had been doing a lot of moves from my family from the East Coast to the West Coast. It was usually my responsibility to go back and pack them up and move them out and coordinate everything. And when I found NAPO, I realized that there was specific niche markets that we could, we could engage in, and that was my market. So I just started my own business, and from day one, it's basically been doing that. A lot of moves, national moves, from one city in the United States to another.
All right. Well, as we were talking before the break about moving, we got to the point where we had all the boxes in the new home.
Right.
Do you help people unpack it, or do you let them unpack it and then come back later and make sure things are in the right place, or what are the next steps?
In a perfect world, I like to unpack them,
Okay.
And if they have the funds and they can afford me and my services, then they usually hire me to do that as well. A lot of people want to start by themselves, and then they have me come in and kind of help them finish up. But for me, my perfect world is getting them unpacked one time instead of when they unpack, they put things where they think they should be, and then they figure out it's not so efficient. And so they call me back. When I unpack, it's done right the first time, and then there's no unpacking and repacking. So it's best if I do it first.
Now, do you find often that as you're unpacking, there's just much more to throw out too?
Yes, absolutely. There's definitely another round of, yes, I don't need that. I think we can get rid of that now. They see the limitations. So it's easier. Once you get to the other place, it's much easier.
Okay, well, then let's say someone's been moved in now. They've been living in their home for a while. Do you have a follow-up then that you maybe get together with them a month down the line, a couple months down the line, and see how it's all working out and make adjustments?
Absolutely. If they want, I'm available. I usually keep in touch with my clients no matter what the situation is. Whether they're moving or just want a filing system, I'm always constantly in touch with my clients. So if they need something, they know where I am. They know I'm available. And if they need something to be moved or changed or donated or sold down the line, they come back to me. Absolutely.
Well, let's hear some moving horror stories, because people kind of like hearing things like that. Unfortunately, that's the way our society is. But what are some of the horror stories that you've heard about, not necessarily with your clients, but that people run into when they downsize and move?
Well, a horror story would be one of my clients moved from Los Angeles to Nevada, and they were expecting to do an estate sale at the end of the move. And at the very last moment, the new buyers, the new owners, decided that they didn't want to give them more time. So all of the things that had been left aside for the estate sale now had to be packed up and moved within a day. And that was about 4 months worth of work. And it had to be done within 24 hours. So we had to pull together a team of about 12 people to pack it up. And then, of course, there was nowhere to put it at the other end. So the challenge was, what do we do with all of this stuff? And basically, we held an estate sale off-site. Okay. And so we were able to pull it together, but it was a very stressful 24 hours. We packed it up and we moved it out.
Now, as you're working with a client on the front end of the process, are there any things that you say, just a couple warnings, we got to think about this, or, build some time in, or any kinds of things that you try to let people know as far ahead as possible so things like that can't happen?
I do the best to prepare them. I give them a list when we first begin of the time frame. For instance, what to leave out for the day before, what to pack up the last minute so that we have it when they move in, what kind of things can be transported across state lines, like, for instance, ammunition and guns and things like that. They have to be permits. So, I give them a list of things that they need to consider before a move, especially across state lines. I always tell them to build in an extra few days, a few weeks if possible, for emergency situations. And we do the best to accommodate that. But sometimes it falls on deaf ears sometimes.
Now, you also do office organizing services. Do you do office moves as well?
I haven't yet. We haven't done. I mean, we do homes, so we do home offices.
Okay.
We don't do offices that aren't in homes as of yet.
Okay. Well, I want to give you the opportunity to promote your business a little bit, tell people about the services that you do and how people can reach out to you. So just give us a thumbnail of some of your services. And I don't know if you do virtual consulting or not, or if it's just all in your local area, but let people know what you do and then the best way for them to reach out to connect with you.
Terrific. We do. We specialize in residential organizing. We specialize in home office organizing. Of course, downsizing and move coordination. And the move coordination entails moving, packing, unpacking, donation pickup, trash removal, and then at the end of it all, if they want to sell their belongings, we hold and host estate sales. So that's really what we specialize in.
Okay, and then you say you do some on the office side as well, just general office organizing?
General office. We do, file implementation and time management, workflow procedures in offices, so policies and procedures, and, just anything to do with offices. But usually it's small offices, so 50 people and under. Okay.
And do you have a geographic work area that you stay within? I mean, California is big.
It is big. We do. We start here, of course, in our local area, but I find myself, if my clients move out of state, I usually go with them to unpack. So, I get the business locally, and usually I go with them on their journey.
Okay. And your website, how can people connect with you on your website?
My website is organizingconceptsanddesigns.com.
Okay. And we'll also include that in our show notes as well. So
thank you so much for having me.
all right, it's Dina Newman from organizingconceptsanddesigns.com today on Keeping You Organized.